What's up, guys? This is Tassion with Cymatics, and today I'm going to be doing a start to finish, and I'm going to be writing this song from scratch. So we're going to see how this goes. So first thing I do when I'm starting to write a song is I start with my effects, and I like to keep everything as organized as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and just group this first audio, and we're going to call this effects, and I'm just going to start color coordinating everything. And I usually like to start with a white noise down. I'm going to drag everything out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead into here and type in white noise down. And this one works. So I'm going to start this at the 5, and the reason I like to do that is because sometimes I like to do sweeps before my intros, and I like to start at the 5th bar, because if you start here, then everything is really just kind of, you can't really see the number you're on. So I'm going to go ahead and start there, because as far as I zoom out, actually I'm going to go ahead and start at the 9, because if I zoom out even further, like let's say we do this, and I go ahead and zoom out either further, that 5 is going to disappear, but that 9 will stay. So that's why I like to start on the 9th bar. I'm going to go ahead and make a locator as well. Call that intro 1.1. So another thing that I like to do is I like to bring my volumes down pretty far. So I'm going to take this down to 25 and this down to 10. And I'm going to make sure all my groups are at 10, because if I want to add volume, I don't want to have to go past 0. But how I'm going to counteract that is on the master, I'm going to put a utility at like 15. And let's go ahead and bump that to 20. So this is going to give the impression that it's really loud, even though all my channels are actually pretty quiet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an impact. And let's see if we have one in the Savage pack. That one's pretty fire. So I'm going to do intro 1.2, and then I'm going to do a build over here. So now I kind of have everything laid out. I just want to start laying out these first 16 bars. So we'll call this impact 1, and then I'm going to do impact 2, and I'm going to have like a less crazy impact here. So I'm going to use this one, except I'm going to EQ out a lot of the lows. Or a lot of the highs, I meant. Just so we get that little bassiness underneath. Little trick I like to do too with my white noise downs is I like to do some cool auto panning. And it's going to start out auto panning really fast, and it's going to get slower and slower. Alright, I should have done it. So without that, it's just... So, cool little trick there. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to do an ambience. And I'm going to look for something in the key of E or F, just because that's the key I like to write in. So let's open this up and see. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to find another one in E and see if I can bring it up. Let's look at these other ones too. So I'm going to do something like this, just so I have some ambiences kind of moving in and out of each other. And I'm going to duplicate this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bus, and I'm going to call this ambiences. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this a slightly different color. I'm going to drag that to the top. And then I'm going to make sure my ins and outs are selected, and I want to select in over here because we are going to route both of these to ambiences. We'll call that ambience 1, ambience 2. So this way I can control both. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and get a percussive loop in here, but first I'm going to just EQ this a little bit. Let's go ahead and loop this section. Okay, so we have everything there. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up, I'm going to call this perk loop. And so I'm going to go start at the intro, then go to the build, then go to the drop, and sort of just do some arrangement after that. So let's find a perk loop. There's one in Savage that I really like, 145. I like that one. That one's pretty cool. I'm going to take this down -10 as well. I'm going to do a clap. And I like this one a lot. Just going to do a quarter note clap here. All right, now let's go back to this white noise up. And just want a really simple one. That works for me. Let's EQ this while we're here. So that's what I like to do, is sort of A-B this. I put this here just to give it some panning back and forth. I put a little delay on that. And I'm going to take this up to 0 inside the sampler, just because I kind of like when it almost does a little of saturation on its own. And I like putting a glue compressor here. So this is going to be my kick track. I'm going to start by making a kick on the 1 over here. And then I'm going to make a little pattern. Alright, so I'm going to make a side chain bus up here, and I'm going to select that as in, and I'm going to route everything that I want to be side chain to over here. So let's go ahead and set up this side chain. This is how I like to do it. I extend that out. I'm going to hit side chain to the kick. I'm going to take the ratio up to 5, the attack down to 1, and the release to 20, and that's just typically where I like to start. Then I'm going to open up this view, and I'm just going to loop this section where the kicks are. Pretty transparent side chain. It's all about selecting what you want to be as your trigger. So this side chain is pretty transparent, but what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to just leave it how it is. This is a pretty quick kick. If I were to pick a longer kick, it would be tough to get it shorter, the side chain to be shorter than the actual sample itself. You can do that with this little EQing over here. This EQs the input signal. But if you want to use a longer kick, I would suggest finding a shorter signal to use as the trigger. And how you could do that is you could just duplicate it, turn this one off, call it trigger, and then leave it like And I'm actually going to leave it like that, just so I have more flexibility to sort of make this longer or shorter. So I'm going to use this as my trigger, and I'm actually going to bring this up and bring this into the sidechain group. And I'm going to make all of this group white. So now this trigger is going to be used for the kick and the snare, so the sidechain is going to be perfectly the same every time. All right, and that's how I set it up.